Welcome to this, our first webinar on Vena for the charity sector. Just as a little bit of background, Cygnus is, so who are Cygnus Performance Management? So Cygnus is a EPM specialist. Between the three lead architects, who all three of us are actually on this morning, so there's Mark, Carly and myself. We've been deploying these solutions for combined more than 40 years now. With two of us are accountants and one of us, Carly, is an economist. And we've sort of specialised working in the not-for-profit sector for the last few years. And our clients have sort of been quite diverse. So Citizens Advice, who we've worked with for many years, who are now actually a Vena user as well. They're go live, they're the newest Vena user. Go live was just 2 weeks ago on Friday the 13th, rather auspicious date. They're using it sort of for the whole sort of range of solutions, budgeting and forecasting, reporting, etc. We've worked with Mary Stopes doing statutory consolidation, Age UK doing dashboarding and sort of board packs for the CFO, Victory Housing, where we're looking at budgeting and forecasting. So we've sort of been involved with a number of things over the years. We're going to talk specifically about a product that we've sort of taken on quite recently, because to us it represents the best of where EPM is going. And that's a product called Vena. So what is Vena? Well, Vena is sort of a new breed of FP&A solutions where it's truly built for the cloud. It's built on completely new architecture. It's not a rehash of an old platform, so unlike the likes of Anaplan and Infor, DPM, Vena is built from the ground up, new tech, very highly integrated into Microsoft's reporting stacks, so Power BI and Excel, and allows users sort of all the flexibility that they'd want. Part of what appealed to us, particularly as sort of very numerate people ourselves, is Vena is the first people to really embrace Excel. So rather than trying to replace Excel, that they've really sort of got this idea of the answer is to overcome the limitations of Excel and focus on enabling users to use the platform that they already know and already love. And I think that the stat on the right there, 84% of firms keep using Excel as an extension of their dedicated FP&A software. The other 16 said no comment. It is highly reflective of what we've seen over the years. I've been part of the sales side of these things and the deployment side, where we sort of go in and say we can get rid of the Excel problem, and we put in this solution to do it. And the reality is that we spend the next however long dealing with the reality of accountants still doing most of their calculations and work offline in Excel, and then copying, pasting or tweaking the results in somewhere else, and it's just not efficient. And very few solutions have the sort of capability and flexibility of Excel. So Vena offers a new way of doing it, and a new thought about it. It's still a full spectrum EPM solution. You've still got central connected database. You've still got the ability to align actuals and forecasts and budgets and still track and roll numbers. And you've still got a powerful model engine that can take away all of those complex pieces of logic that you do want absolutely standardized, or the complexities of standardized charts of account. But it also then brings to the table sort of things such as workflow automation and status tracking out of the box. It allows you collaboration across department using sort of web-based templates that users check in and out. You've got version control, so centrally you can say, okay, now we're working on forecast 1, quarter 2, a 6+6 or a 9+3, or a optimistic or pessimistic, might be more appropriate unfortunately at the moment. It also brings security, scalability, to the table so that you know that you can sort of distribute it widely. You've got absolute security over who can see what, no concerns of people accidentally getting the wrong file. And you've also got sort of the ability to do sort of more advanced analytics and reporting. So Vena is, like I say, the first to really embrace Excel. And what does that mean? So to us, that means that as finance users, we still get to keep all of the functionality that we've already learned over the last however many years. That means we can still insert rows, we can build graphs, we can use formulas that we already know, that they can be through to just simple sums to VLOOKUPs and index formulas. Whatever you want, it will still work. But it takes the idea that those files are centralized and templated and stored away, and that the data is then also sent back to a central database. So it's stored safely in the Vena cloud. You don't have to do the aggregation, you don't have to do any currency conversion, and things like allocations can be done automatically. And that can all be driven by a powerful cloud-based workflow and task engine. So you no longer have the pain of chasing up people saying, where's your submission? And them going, oh, well, I emailed it to you 2 days ago. That all disappears. Or the, have you started yet? Oh, no, I didn't know Bob had finished with it yet. All of that pain is taken away. We can also automate your data feeds. We can bring in data from your on-premise solutions, or we can pick up data from cloud solutions such as Salesforce and NetSuite. And finally, the tight integration with Microsoft, Vena works very closely with Microsoft, means that we can also bring direct connection and integration with the Power BI platform, which gives you the ability to, once you've done your budgeting and forecasting, you can still get obviously all the reports you'd want out of Excel. But if you want to take it to that next level, do some analysis, present rich dashboards, etc., then getting it into Excel, into Power BI, is merely sort of 3 clicks away. So rather than me speaking on for the next half an hour, which I could quite happily do, let's sort of jump straight in and actually take a look at the software.
Okay, before we start showing you the budget and forecasting model from a process point of view and how end users, whether they be contributors to the process of entering data, or whether they're actually users who are going to be reviewing the data. Just want to show you on screen here is a visual representation of the workflow that we're going to be using. This is actually not just a visual representation in Vena, this is actually what you use to define and design your workflow. It's a unique feature of Vena, and it looks great, and it's very easy to understand where your start and end points are and where your particular milestones and entry points are in the workflow. So just wanted to show you that first. Okay, next we're going to show you one part of the workflow, first part of retail sales input and review. So this is the part that I'm highlighting down here at the bottom of the workflow. I'm going to go in as a user who's going to input those retail sales, the phasing for the budget, and then log in as someone who can to review those and confirm that they're happy with those numbers. So I'll just log out of the main admin and go into a user called retail entry. First thing that they will always see is a to-do list of processes that they need to complete and items that they need to either review or, in this case, input. So if I was to click on the London sales input item, I get a sidebar that opens that gives them options of some instructions that you can add them if you want to give some more context to why they're completing it, or even just just some information as to how to complete this part of the process. And even you can add supporting documents like Word documents, PDF, even other Excel spreadsheets, again just to give them some more assistance in completing their numbers. And the form that I've got to complete is one Excel file here, so I'll check that out. And as I'm using Chrome, I have the resultant file sitting down there. So if I open that up in Excel, which has the Vena add-in already installed on it, it recognizes that it's a Vena spreadsheet. It prompts me for a department that I want to complete for. So in this case, let me to Kensington. It refreshes the data. It has the actuals here. And you see I can expand that to show you the phased actuals. And then you've got the blue sections here showing you input. Now, all this can be protected to make sure that you only the end user can only input where they need to. So let me complete some budget numbers for them. So won't do it for every single period. I'll just do for the first 4. Now that's showing you what it is on screen. What I will do is save this and commit this number to the OLAP database, the Vena database. And there you go. It's now in centrally, and that's available now to everyone who needs to review that in the system. If I wanted to make a change to a different department, so Southwark, let's go into there. So if I wanted to make the changes for their budget, I can do so here, and then again save the data. Another handy feature I want to show you is the cascade functionality. And if I just show you what happens on screen, if I wanted to choose Kensington and Chiswick, click OK. Vena then produces a tab for each of those departments, a separate tab for each of those departments that can allow you to review what you had entered in for those particular departments. So, okay, when you're happy with that, you close down the file. It asks you to check this file in. If you're done with it, you check that in. Close down Excel, and you're back into here. When you're happy with that numbers, you then submit that, and that's you showing that you're happy with your input and you're ready for it to go to review. You'll see in the to-do list, you can continue to view your input, but you can no longer edit it and make changes. That file is now gone to the next person in the workflow, in the line of the workflow for review, and that's what we're going to next. So now I'm going to log in this case, as somebody called Task Review. So this is the reviewer. Under their Contributor tab, they have a similar list of to-do items. This case, they actually have something that needs their attention. It's highlighted in red, and they've also got a list of things that are going to come soon. It's not with them yet, but eventually it will come to them. So if I go into London Sales Review, so I've got 2 things I need to review. In this case, it's the London Sales Review is what I'm interested in. This is what the previous person had just completed. Again, a spreadsheet opens up. Shows them now the budget that was entered by the person for the 2 departments that I had selected, Southwark and Kensington. Whilst this is actually is unprotected, they can't actually save this or do anything with this. Normally, you would protect the whole worksheet so that it's read only. They can take the review. They can look at average sales per day here, some calculations that are being driven by Excel. If they're happy with it, it's as simple as going back into Vena and approving or rejecting it. In this case, I will approve it. And there you go. That's moved on to the next phase. Okay, so next we're going to look at a different part of the workflow, but still part of the budget and forecasting overall workflow. We're going to look at grants and grant income. Similar to the retail sales, we're going to have somebody who's going to be inputting. So their particular job is to input the grant income. So for this, I go log in as somebody called grant.entry. And like we've seen before, he has a to-do list and a coming soon item. First off, he needs to maintain the funding grants. So here, if I check this particular report out, you'll see there's always some information already completed in there. So we've got a list of funders and projects, and also the start and end dates of these particular projects and the value of these grants, any comments. So if I wanted to put in some more information in there, so there's an expected new project going through on, I don't know, 1st of December running through to 1st December 2021. I can add those in there, the length of it, automatically calculated, the value of the grant, let's call it 500,000, and now save that data. Very similar to what we've seen before. I've put that in. I'm happy with that. I'll close the workbook and check it in. And when I'm happy that that's done, I will submit, and I'm happy with that. So the entering of the full project value for the grants is the first step. The second step is actually the grant income phasing. Now this says it's coming soon. In fact, it's due in a day. It's not due quite yet. However, I know that it's the next phase in the workflows, so I'm able to check this out now and start doing the phasing of that grant income. And you see there, we've got that information that was previously entered. And when Vena refreshes, there you go, the extra one that I put in. And here it's just a matter of phasing it accordingly. So if I wanted to make it £1 million each year, each period, I can do that. And the key thing is to making sure that the end to be allocated is showing 0. So we know that we're absolutely right there. Again, if I just put, say, that 500,000 there to clear it off, and if we wanted to, you can put validations in here to, cut conditional formatting. This is fundamentally still Excel. You're using Excel. If I'm happy with that, I'll save my data, submit that to the Vena database, close the workbook, check it in, and then I'm able to submit. So both of my processes are now set to view only, and grant entry is now completed. And as before, we've done the entry. We now go into the same person. It's called task review. It doesn't have to be the same person. We've just assigned all these review points to the same person. If we go into their to-do list, you'll see now they've got the grants and income review is now ready for them to do. Let me view that particular spreadsheet. And that spreadsheet can be the same, and is the same in our case, the same spreadsheet as they were to input this information. They can do, that's no problem. We can then lock it down so that they can't make any changes. Here you'll see as a review, they still can't save the data. It's just really read-only for them to review and to make sure they're happy with. And if I close that and I'm happy with that, or I can reject it. If I reject it, it will obviously go back down the chain, and the grant entry user will have to complete. If I was to reject it, you can give a reason why this is rejected. But in this case, again, I will approve and move it forward. Okay, I just want to go back and just show you as admin, show you the workflow and see where we are at the moment in this workflow. So we've maintained the funding grants, we've done the grant income phasing, we've done the review. So these three at the top here. We've also done the retail sales input. For time, we're not going to look at anything else of the process, but now the final stage, we're going to look at the budget SOFA review. And to do that, with segregation of duty, we have another login called group review person. And in their to-do list, they have a SOFA review. It's not due in 14 days. So it's not actually with them quite yet because all the other parts of the workflow haven't yet been submitted. But that doesn't mean that the end user can't still view and still look at work in progress. All the data that all the guys out there are submitting into the database are all being populated and are all being made available in any output report that you want to view. So in this case, as I'm sort of the group position, I have access to all the particular departments and funders, etc., and I can do it at a consolidated level, and I can have a look and see what's been submitted, and you'll see you've got some consolidated retail numbers in there. Very simplistic view, even though, as I say, the end reviewer hasn't got to wait until all parts of the workflow has been completed before they can start looking at numbers and getting an early view of things. They can still all the data is live because it's been submitted centrally. It is only at the stage where all of the previous workflow parts, so all these extra bits, workforce, direct costs, overheads, facilities, all those have been completed, will, as a reviewer, as the budget sofa reviewer, will I get the ability to approve or reject? And as the end of the process, that would be the end of that particular budget cycle. So just want to show you one last thing, is how you can, in Vena, keep a track on the process and who's done what and what's overdue. In this manager tab, there's something called the status tracker, and it's quite a nice little dashboard that comes out of the box with Vena and just shows you how many days are remaining in this particular budget cycle, how many tasks are overdue. You've got a nice calendar there, and then the status of all the particular steps in the process and where they are in terms of the edit for contributing to the numbers, and also review status, etc. That comes out of the box pre-configured, so it's quite a nice way to manage your workflow process in a real-time status. So that's pretty much all I want to show you from an end user point of view, what they're seeing. Web interface, centrally logged in, everything controlled in terms of the workflow. The workflow itself is designed using this very pretty looking graphical user interface, and the matter of changing these things is a matter of just clicking, moving things about, and even if you wanted to put new things in there, create new tasks, it's all very much done with this user interface, graphical user interface, and that's pretty much it for the demo.
Okay, so
before we start,
don't want to watch that again. Sorry, Mark. So that's a quick overview on Vena on it. Like I said earlier, the other core interface is Power BI. So you can do everything that you'd normally do in Excel, but you do have this very simple, very easy integration into Power BI. So I've just literally jumped across into Power BI here. I don't know how many of you are actually familiar with Power BI, but you know, it allows for very simple sort of picking and choosing of items, very quick, clean, easy to understand visualizations, and you can sort of very easily focus in on things. If I was to click on there, you can see everything filters down and the numbers adjust. So it's a very good, quick and easy tool. Connecting it up to a lot of EPM tools historically has meant doing things such as having text files being pulled out or pushed somewhere or put into a SQL server or something, and then you have to connect Power BI over the top of that, and you have to standardize and do all sorts of things. Vena, so much easier. We can literally go straight into natively in Power BI. We can go into get data, click more, and literally it's towards the bottom of the list is Vena. Now it says beta, that's just a Microsoft thing. You can see there's a whole load of things listed as beta. That's just because Microsoft say anything that's less than 2 years old has to be sat as a beta. It's not in beta. But it's literally as simple as clicking on there, putting in your user name and password effectively, and it will then give you full access to all of your data from Vena, and that is literally what it is. And when I first opened this, it actually refreshed that data straight away. So it is very, very quick. So again, very simple, very easy connectivity that you've come to expect from a cloud-based platform. Okay, so I'm just going to very quickly go through a couple of sort of case studies. Unfortunately, the one I wanted to share isn't ready yet, which was Citizens Advice. But it has been used very successfully in not-for-profits. Citizens Advice is obviously one, but this one, classic sort of environment where you've got sort of a distributed system, distributed business, 35 camps across the US and Canada. They each had their own budget that had to be fed up into central. They had sort of legacy systems and more than one, Lawson, Vision, PeopleSoft. So that's an Infor product, a Microsoft product, and PeopleSoft, who I can't remember who owned them now. Needed it for budgeting, particularly 225 users. And you can see one of the key things that their FD sort of said was, we can build on what we already have to make a better budget process. That's a key message from Vena, because you're starting from a point of, we can take what you know and make it better in Excel. We don't have to throw it out and start again. People will get that sort of comfort that they know what they're doing. It's a very powerful sort of message, and we don't see that sort of drop off and people pushing back towards Excel that we see with so many other EPM solutions. Next one is sort of a little bit of a cheeky one. Everybody loves Nando's, including me. So this was a great story where Nando's sort of came looking for a platform that could effectively do pretty much all of their reporting and interesting workflow tracking sort of around the core finance process. So they took on Vena back in 2015, 5 years ago now. And it started off sort of wanting to do operational reporting and budgeting, and it's grown substantially since then. So now it's sort of driving month-end close, doing financial and statutory reporting, doing operational planning, budgeting, and forecasting. You know, it's really grown. Again, they've got sort of a number of systems. They've got AX, Sage, Great Plains, Zero. I'm not quite sure what they use Zero for, but they do. But again, this is a great site where they've got sort of a large number of spreadsheets floating around that they will sort of people were messing up by inserting rows and columns all over the place. And Vena takes the pain away from that. There are mechanisms that allow us to do insert row and things that don't break these templates. So it sort of became a very quick and easier process. And what was interesting here is this comment again on the right. When we sat down with our group CEO to review the results, the first thing my manager said was, for the first time ever, I've got 100% confidence or comfort in these numbers. And that's a really powerful message again, where the centralization of all of this data and the sort of consistency of using a platform that everybody knows, but storing the data away in a very secure environment, a very standardized environment, brought them sort of a great deal of comfort. So, okay. Now, at that point, we've sort of reached the end. I don't want to sort of belabor it. So if anybody's got any questions, sort of please feel free to ask them now, or if you haven't already. Okay, we do have one question. You mentioned being able to insert rows. How does that not break the templates? Could you show this? I think that is something we can show. Mark, is that something you can show?
Yeah, sure. Is it okay? I can't share my screen right now. Can you enable participant share screening?
Yeah.
What I've got here, what we'll show you is, here we go. It will be a from a Vena demo. It's got it's from the consolidation model that they've template they built. In this case, just adjusting journal entries. But you can think about this. This could be, you know, entry 2, entry 1, entry 2, entry 3 could be an account code that you're filling in a budget for. And here you want to actually, below it, give some commentary. You know, you may want to split out detail. You know, it could be a fixed assets account code or a debtor account code. You want to just give a bit more context. And here you can, if I go into here up the top, there you got line item details, and I can press a button, do insert. And here I can, we've dropped down to these could be, I don't know, types of asset, and I can put numbers in here. And I'm building up from the total line entry, the detail, and I can keep doing this. I can insert actually multiple lines if I wanted to in one go, and I can do that. And that's been saved as line item details in Vena directly, and it just allows any then people up the chain, further up the chain, be able to actually review that detail. So that's really how you can actually insert lines, and equally you can remove stuff if you need to.
I think what's really, and it's a good question, and just keep the screen, Mark. Yeah. One of the interesting things is, and you can see if you go to, I think, like where it says entry 2, you can see that it's just a formula there. we still use sort of standard Excel formulas in places to get numbers into the right sort of places. You know, there's no point someone typing in 1,500 and then typing in 1,500. You know, Vena will do the calculation in the background automatically, but to show it on screen, we can still use sort of subtotals. The other thing is if Mark wanted to sort of work out what that £1,000 was from, you know, another sheet or another range of cells off to the right, he can do that. So he could have, you know, half a dozen numbers that he could sum up or do whatever, and that could just sort of flow into Vena from there. So this gives users the ability to create what we would probably call something like a scratch pad, where, you know, they can do whatever they want in another sheet, you know, fiddle, lay it out however they want, and they can just take the results using just simple Excel formulas back into the Vena template. And Vena will actually not only save the results in the template, but it can be set to actually save their scratch pads for them as well, so that they can sort of go away, come back the next day and reopen it, and it'll save that for them. And that will be sort of unique to them. So it sort of not only allows you to sort of insert rows and do all those things that they'd want, but it also allows them to use formulas they want and create sheets that they want, but still keeping track of everything, which is absolutely key to what Vena brings to the table. Is there any other questions? Okay, in which case, well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.